What's up, guys? It's the Gold Baron, and I've been meaning to make this video for a while. Basically, you shouldn't own a motorcycle if, and what follows. Slowpoke! Hold on, I gotta flex, hold on. Yeah, I've gapped that Mustang before. She's on the college I go to, she's on the softball team. You shouldn't own a motorcycle if you don't have a spare key or several spare keys. I'm not talking about just 2 keys for your bike. I'm talking about at least 3 or 4, especially if you lose your keys a lot, alright? It takes $3 or $4, and almost any locksmith will do it for Yamaha, Suzuki, Japanese bikes. It's stupid cheap, it's easy, and almost none of them have the chips in them, especially in the States. It's super easy. And I say that, you know, for a car, it's maybe not as bad if you lose 1 key, but for this you got to replace, you got this you got to replace, and you got the undertail lock. Now granted, and I know I've done them before, anything but OEM just isn't going to be as good. So just get a spare key. You shouldn't even have a bike if you don't have some spare keys for it. It takes 5 minutes to go and get a spare key. You shouldn't own a motorcycle if you don't have your motorcycle license and endorsement. That's another big one. Now, I know a guy who's ridden longer than me, who's put on way more miles on the bike than I have, and he's a better rider than me, right? And he still doesn't have his motorcycle endorsement. And yeah, you might be able to ride just as good as anyone else, but I mean, just for the reason of you get pulled over and the cop sees you don't have your endorsement, just for that reason alone, you know, that saves you $100, $200 ticket, which is the cost of the motorcycle licensing. You know, it's like $200, $220 in Texas. So just get your motorcycle license, not even for that sake, just to learn how to better ride a bike. I mean, bikes aren't like cars, all right? I mean, they're dangerous, so they teach you a lot of great stuff. I took the course before I got my first bike, and I never regret it. That's extremely important, especially as a new rider. And even if you're not a new rider, you'll still learn a lot. You shouldn't own a motorcycle if you don't have good tires on it, or know how to change, or know when to change your tires and what kind of tires are on it, alright? Motorcycles are not like a car, alright? Tires are way more important. On a car, you have all 4 tires, all 4 strips of rectangular sizes this big on the street into contact with the road. And so why it's so much more essential on bikes to have good tires is because you have such a smaller contact patch with the road. And not only, when I say good tires, I mean good, new, quality brand tires. I'm not talking about Pirelli Angel tires, which are shit tires. I'm not talking about Shinko tires. I'm talking about some good Michelin. You know, like on mine I run a Pilot Power in the front. That's all I'll run. It's a really sticky tire. Now, I don't really ride in the rain, so I don't have to worry about that. If I did, I would probably do a Michelin Road 4. Both of my tires right now are 2019s. My rear is a little cheaper. It's a Dunlop Road Smart. It's $100. But tires aren't super expensive, and they can save your life, you know? They're so worth it. You shouldn't own a motorcycle if you don't have good tires on your bike. And yeah, you could say, well, I don't corner really hard. Well, it doesn't matter, you know? When you're stopping, when you give it full front brake and your tire slips out and you wreck, that's when you needed those front tires, you know? You shouldn't own a motorcycle if you've never read the owner's manual. And I more say this for newer riders. If you've had, you know, this is your 5th GSXR 600 and you haven't read the owner's manual, you know, okay, that's different. But bikes aren't like cars. There's a lot of useful information of how to clean your chain, the maintenance intervals, all that stuff. If you haven't read your owner's manual, or at least skimmed through it and read the main parts, you probably shouldn't even have your bike. You shouldn't own a motorcycle if you don't have a rear stand. If you don't have a rear stand, you can't adjust your chain, you can't clean your chain, you can't take off your rear tire. They're cheap. You could probably get one off eBay for 40, 50 bucks if you wanted to. You could make one for cheaper. You're supposed to clean your chain every 500 or 600 miles, depends on the manufacturer. You don't have a motorcycle stand, at least a rear motorcycle stand, you shouldn't have a bike. You shouldn't have a motorcycle if you don't have insurance on it. And I say this for a couple reasons. Insurance, if you're broke like me, insurance is still going to be cheap. I've gotten 4 or 5 tickets, and I have insurance through Dairyland for $250 a year on this bike. Now granted, it's only liability, so if I hit somebody else, so I can pay for them, you know, but it's legal. I'm legal. If a cop pulls me over, instead of getting a $100, $200 ticket, I won't, you know. So if you don't have insurance, you shouldn't have a bike, you know. You shouldn't own a motorcycle if you don't check your oil and know how to. You shouldn't own a motorcycle if you leave it outside or uncovered. Now, if you're like me, I live in an apartment. I can't really bring my bike inside, so I have a cover for it. How much does a cover cost? $50. A good cover costs $50. Not only does it make it safer, keeps it out of the rain, and just those two alone should warrant you getting a cover. Rain kind of messes up your chain, whereas a car, you know, if it rains, all the water just goes off the hood, it doesn't hit the engine. Now, you do have your gas tank that's over your engine, but if you lean it on the side, you know, water still gets everywhere. It gets on into all these intricate controls that are exposed to the air. You know, covers are cheap, and it'll save you potentially getting your bike stolen and a new chain. You shouldn't own a bike if it's your only means of transportation. Now, if you live in a small city or maybe a big city and you live close to where you work and your gas station and this and that, it's maybe not a huge deal if you have to walk a couple miles to go to work in the rain or something. But if you have like a 10-minute drive to anywhere, get a cheap Toyota, get a cheap Honda car, don't get a bike. It shouldn't be your only means of transportation. That's stupid. This thing is dangerous to ride in the rain, especially depending on your tires. It sucks to ride in the rain. It sucks for the bike to be in the rain. It's not good for the bike to be in the rain. You shouldn't have a motorcycle if you bought it new and you're making payments on it, because if you're making payments on it, that means you couldn't pay for it in full price. And when you make payments on a bike, you have to pay for full insurance on the bike, which is super expensive. You pay a shit ton of insurance on the bike, which is super expensive. And if it's your first or second bike, you're probably going to drop it. In fact, even if it's your 5th or 6th bike, you're probably going to drop it. And a motorcycle decreases in value pretty quick. Like something like this, after I put on 30,000 miles on it, I mean, I couldn't sell it for more than, you know, if this was brand new, I couldn't sell it for more than, you know, maybe 5-6 grand with 40K on here. They depreciate, you know. They're harder to maintain. Just get a used sport bike or something. They're so much cheaper. You don't have to pay full insurance and you don't have to make payments on them. Also, another thing, you shouldn't own a bike if you don't know how to do your maintenance and don't do your maintenance, or at least have the money to pay someone else to do maintenance on it. You shouldn't own a motorcycle if you don't know how much it costs to own one. You need to do your research, and I hope to make one of these videos soon. Bikes aren't cheap. Even if you get a used SV650 for 15 grand per mile on a bike, you have to think about these things. Like the front tire will last 7,000 to 13,000 miles. The rear tire will last 2,000 to 6,000 miles, depending how you ride. That's way less than a car. And to get a decent tire, that's $100, you know? So every other month, if you ride it consistently, that's $200. You know, people think, oh, gas is cheap on a bike, it's going to be cheaper than a car. That's not the case. You have to do oil changes more frequently. You have a chain drive, you have to replace that. You have to replace sprockets. You have to replace brake fluid more often. You have to do valve adjustments, and motorcycles just don't last as long. Generally, a car just it's gonna last 200,000 miles if you take care of it like a good old Toyota Camry, a good old SV650. I mean, if you're lucky and you treat it real good, maybe 100,000 miles before you start losing a gear. But bikes are expensive, especially sport bikes. A 600cc sport bike is more expensive to own and maintain over 50 to 80,000 miles than like a 2008 Toyota Camry, you know? Anyway guys, I hope you learned something from this video, and I hope some of you just are convicted and feel guilty after watching this, because there's just so many people, I just shake my head, they just don't know what the frick they're doing. Guys, it's a beautiful day to ride, I'll tell you that much. Thankful for being healthy and having this bike, and just being able to have my job right now. Anyway, that's all I have for the video. Thank you all for watching.